Hey everyone, this is Matt. Welcome back to my channel, Blind to Billionaire. How to get free genetic testing? That's a great question. I will tell you coming up.
Good job, man.
So how do you get genetically tested for free if you have retinitis pigmentosa? I have two different sources that I'll share with you for free genetic testing. So why is it important, first of all, to get genetically tested? For everybody that has retinitis pigmentosa, you've probably been to some kind of seminar or you've done some kind of research, and you know that there's various different strains of retinitis pigmentosa. There's actually numerous different strains. There's many different genes that can cause retinitis pigmentosa. So the important part about getting genetically tested is so that we can figure out what gene is causing your RP, and hopefully to give researchers an idea of what genes they should focus on as far as finding a cure for retinitis pigmentosa. For example, let's say some genetic testing is done and we test 10,000 people. Of those 10,000, let's just say 3,000 of them have the same gene mutation causing their retinitis pigmentosa. Well, researchers, scientists, pharmaceutical companies, whoever these people are that are finding a cure, are probably going to work to find a cure to fix that gene mutation that the 3,000 people have. You know, this is just an example, obviously, but they're going to focus on something. They're going to focus on a gene that they can have a lot of participants, a lot of patients that they can treat. So we want to be genetically tested not only for researchers but for ourselves too. We want to know what gene is causing our RP, just so that in the future, when a cure is made or found, we know that we can possibly go in and be treated for it, provided that the gene that's causing it in us is, you know, within the parameters of the cure. So I'm assuming that there's going to be multiple different varieties or variations of the cure that is probably made. It's probably not going to be just a one cure for every type of RP. So anyway, that's just kind of my opinion on why genetic testing is important if you have retinitis pigmentosa. In the end, it's going to help all of us. The more people that get genetically tested, it's going to help all of us probably be cured, and for researchers to find a cure more quickly. So getting into the two sources of free genetic testing that I alluded to at the beginning of this video. The first source is through Therapeutics. And that is, I did that I think it was about a year ago. I did that, maybe more like a year and a half ago, roughly. And what that is, if I recall accurately, it's either a blood sample or a saliva sample. I actually chose the saliva sample. And how I got it was I simply called Therapeutics and I spoke with someone and said, I'm interested in the free genetic test for retinitis pigmentosa patients. And the person that I was speaking with knew exactly what I was talking about. And she said, would you like the test to be a blood sample or saliva? And I thought saliva might just be the easiest, so I selected that one. And what they actually did is, free of charge, they sent a kit to my house, and inside this kit had everything that was needed to administer the test. So then I was instructed to make an appointment with my primary care physician, and then when I go into that appointment, I was instructed to bring the kit, and then the physician would administer the kit at the time. So that's exactly what I did. I made an appointment. I went in for the appointment, and I gave him the test, and we basically just sat there and read through it together. Well, I actually didn't read through it. He did it. He read through it, and we did the test together. Basically, all it is a small vial that comes in the kit, and you just fill the vial to a line with saliva. He closes the vial. He shakes it up for, I don't know, I think it's maybe like 30 seconds or a minute. Puts it into the envelope with some paperwork that he's filled out, and then we just ship it in. And then Therapeutics will receive the kit, and they will process it however they do. And then roughly, I don't remember exactly how long it was, maybe 6 weeks, possibly longer, possibly shorter, I'm not positive, you'll get some kind of correspondence from Therapeutics. And I think mine was initially some paperwork in the mail. And what it was a breakdown of the testing. So in this specific genetic test, they test 30 different genes. And of those 30 genes, they're looking for any mutations that have caused the RP. In my situation and other people that I've spoke to who have had this genetic test, mine came back inconclusive, along with a few other people that I've talked to. Everybody that I've talked to has come back inconclusive. So like I said, they're only testing for 30 genes, but it's a start. It's a really good start, and it's a free genetic test. So not only is it helping us, but it's helping the people at Spark Therapeutics and other researchers. So that was the first genetic test. Oh, along with this test, I forgot to mention, it also does come with genetic counseling. So how that works is you can schedule an appointment with a geneticist over the phone, and it's a 1-hour appointment, and you can be on the phone, your spouse can be on the phone, or any family member, anybody else. You can have this appointment, and what that person does is they look through the results from the test, and they interpret those results to you in a way that actually makes sense. Because if you look at this paperwork that Spark sends you, unless you're a physician or you're a geneticist or you're just someone that understands this type of stuff, it doesn't make any sense. There's so much foreign language in there. I don't know how anybody could understand any of it. So what was really nice about the the meeting with the genetic counselor was that she read through the report and she explained everything that we had questions about. And she answered any additional questions that we had. She explained how it was, mine was maybe like XX linked versus some could possibly be like XY linked, or, you know, there's just so much detail. And she broke it down in such an easy way for all of us to understand. And she answered all these questions. And like I said, it was about an hour that we were on the phone with her. So it was a really great call. And she just broke down and walked through any questions that we had, and the synopsis of this genetic test through Spark Therapeutics. So anyway, so that is one of the two genetic testing that I'm talking about today. Spark Therapeutics, and it's the genetic test for patients with retinitis pigmentosa. So it's really simple. If you want to do that, just Google their phone number, call them, and they'll know exactly what you're talking about. Spark Therapeutics. The second genetic test that I'm going to talk about, I have not actually done this one yet, but I will be doing it on Tuesday. Today is Sunday, July 1st, and I have an appointment on Tuesday, July 3rd, to see a physician who I haven't seen yet. She is a retina specialist. She specializes in people with retinitis pigmentosa, and she has administered this other genetic test to other patients. So this one is actually called My Retina Tracker Genetic Testing Study. So it's a long name, but that's what it is. So if you're unaware, this is something that is, again, it's a free genetic test, but it is actually funded by, from my understanding, it's funded by someone who made a large donation to possibly like My Retina Tracker. That's kind of how I'm understanding it. They were talking about it at the last Foundation Fighting Blindness meeting I was at. And it sounds like someone donated a whole bunch of money to maybe like My Retina Tracker, or possibly it was Foundation Fighting Blindness. I'm not sure. But anyway, they specifically said this money is going to be set aside for genetic testing. So that's what it is, and it sounds like there's enough funding to go for maybe another 6 months or another year or something like that. So if you want to do this one, you have to kind of get on it promptly so that you can get it paid for. Otherwise, you'll have to pay for it maybe out of pocket, or maybe your insurance will pick it up. I'm not sure. But anyway, let's get back to the genetic testing. So this one, like I said, I haven't had this one done yet, but I will be going in 2 days to have this genetic test done. I'm not sure how it's going to be administered. I'm not sure if it's a saliva sample again, or if it's a blood sample, or what it is. I have no idea. I'll actually be creating a follow-up video early this next week, or actually this week, in just a few days after I have the appointment, and let you know how it went. But the caveat to this genetic test is, although it is free, the caveat is you need to be registered with My Retina Tracker in order to get this test. And what that is, I'll just give you a brief overview of what My Retina Tracker is. It's an online database where people with retinitis pigmentosa input all of their information. It's a completely anonymous database, so your name is not in there, but everything else about you, from what I understand, I'm actually registered on it, is on there. So like your medical history, just everything else that's relevant to your diagnosis with retinitis pigmentosa is on this database. And researchers, scientists, doctors, maybe even pharmaceutical companies have the ability to get this information. And again, it's completely anonymous. They have this information, and what they can do is they can reference this information to see how many patients possibly have these different strains or these different gene mutations causing retinitis pigmentosa, or they're just looking at all these different patients and seeing consistencies across patients, thinking, okay, there's, let's go back to another example, and let's say there's 10,000 people that are registered, and maybe they're seeing consistencies with 2, 3, or 4,000 of these people, and they're saying, okay, this is interesting. This large percentage of people have all of these same attributes, or consistencies among them, and that could be an indicator for these people who are trying to find a cure for us. So it's very important to be registered on this site, even if you're not trying to get a genetic test done. But it's very important just to be registered so that these people have access to see our profiles. And again, I've said this before, it's completely anonymous, so nobody knows who you are. Your chart is just linked to a phone, just a random number. A number, that's all you are on there, is just a number, not your name. So that's what's really nice about it. So I don't have a whole lot to say about the My Retina Tracker genetic test study because I haven't done it yet, so I don't know much about it yet. But I do know that you do need to be registered on My Retina Tracker in order to get it for free. I do know that there is funding to pay for this genetic test for roughly, it sounds like, about 6 months to another year. And I do know that you need to find a physician. You can't just go to anyone to get this test. The way that I found the physician that I'm going to have this test done is I actually contacted the chairperson, the chairwoman, or the president of the Foundation Fighting Blindness Northern Lights chapter here in Minneapolis. Her name is Julie Anderson, if you happen to be here in Minneapolis. Anyway, I contacted her and just said, hey, do you know anybody or a physician who will administer this My Retina Tracker genetic test? And she wrote back promptly, as she always does, and she suggested this physician. The person I'm actually going to see her name is Polly Quorum. She's with Vitro Retina, maybe it's Vitro Retina Surgery or Vitro Retina Specialists. She has various locations, but the one I'm going to specifically is in Edina, Minnesota. So just a little side note, Julie Anderson, if you happen to watch this, thank you so much for what you do. We really appreciate it. You do just a ton for the FFB chapter. So really just a huge thanks to what you and John do for us. So anyway, I will upload a follow-up video on Tuesday or Wednesday of this week with just a breakdown of how the genetic test goes, how it's administered, what this Polly talks about as far as like any relevant information that she talks about. I will make notes, or I'll have somebody else take notes, and then I will relay all that information to you in just a few days. So those are the 2 genetic tests that I know of and that I will be participating in. If you haven't done so already, do me a huge favor and subscribe to my channel, Blind to Billionaire. It's a relatively new channel. I'm trying to grow it as quickly as possible. Just get my name and my message and my face in front of more people. So yeah, do me a huge favor, subscribe to my channel. Otherwise, hit the like button if you like it. And leave any comments or questions that you have down below if you have any. Otherwise, thanks again for watching. Hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in a few days with a follow-up to this video. Thanks again for watching.